Also, I would like to introduce our major presenter tonight, and I'm sure several of you have been talking to him already, and that's John Powderly with the Army Corps of Engineers, as I understand, the chief project manager.
I am the project manager for Reach A,
okay.
And Swallow's Nest is in Reach A. Good evening, I'm John Powderly. I'm with the Sacramento District of the Corps of Engineers, and I am one of the project managers for the Natomas project. And I am the project manager for Reach A. We do have several people here. Audrey mentioned some of them. From SAFCA, from the Department of Water Resources, from RD1000, and also from the Sacramento District Corps of Engineers. Instead of introducing all of them, I would like to just get right to the presentation because I think that's why you're all here. We're here to give you an update on Reach A, and we're going to do that. But it's important, we feel it's important for everyone to understand both the context of the Natomas Basin and also what we have been doing so far to date. We will try and get through these first two parts quickly and then hit the third part, which is Swallow's Nest, Reach A, what is the project, and also what are the impacts that we see at this point in time. Next slide, please. Who here remembers this? I see one, I see two. That's good. Apparently there's some awareness of what can happen here in the Natomas Basin. In this photo, this is taken 1986, and that road that you see in the background is, we believe, Alberta Road. We are looking south on Garden Highway. And there's actually three things to note in this photo. There's three things going on. Number one is the water. That's something that we can't control. If the water comes, the water's going to come. Number two, the flood fight. Now, aside the fact that the people who are actually doing the flood fight are far braver than I am, because if that levee gives way, the people who are doing the flood fight aren't going to survive. That's the levee. That's something that while we can't control the flood, we can, in fact, to a certain degree, control the structural flood protection, the levee. That's the second thing that's going on. The third thing that's going on, if you notice, there's a lot of open space behind that levee. There's not development. That allows for the levee to be operated during that flood fight. If there was development up close to that levee, that flood fight would be far more complex, far more difficult to execute. Next slide, please. So, gosh, what's the flood risk? I mean, what if the levee broke? Well, for this one, hold on, I should try and pull out my pointer. You may, let's see what we got here. It's not working, perhaps. Oh, a fine time for the battery to die. Okay, this is the Natomas Basin. Corps of Engineers has a bunch of hydraulic modelers, people who model where water will flow. They modeled several breaks as part of this project, not just Reach A, but the whole Natomas Basin project. They modeled several projects where possible the levee could break. This red dot that you see right there, I want to try and avoid the feedback. That red dot is where for Reach A, the levee break was modeled. They, in the model, they broke the levee and they said, where will the water flow? So you see on the right, got the 100-year floodplain, the 200-year floodplain, the 500-year floodplain. But the most interesting part is, you see that brown salmon area? Some call it brown, some call it salmon. What floodplain is that? If that levee broke, that's the 2-year floodplain. That much water would flow in if the levee broke there. So about every other year, that much flooding would occur in the Natomas Basin. Next slide, please. So there's a lot of water there, and there's the potential for a lot of water coverage, but why is there so much water? And it's because of the way the Sacramento River Valley, the Sacramento Valley, is part of the state's drainage system. You see the black box right there? That is centered on the Natomas Basin. But you can also see up to the left, the big patch of light blue. That's the Butte Sink on the Sacramento River. That light blue is overflow area, meant to hold water. Then Sacramento River, Feather River, Yuba River, Bear River, all of those feed into the Sacramento River, and they pass right by the west side of the Natomas Basin. In addition to that, the American River is the southern boundary of the Natomas Basin. That is controlled by Folsom Lake, Folsom Dam, as you all might understand. And then finally, in addition, just for fun, the small stuff, all the streams from Placer County, from Roseville, Dry Creek from Roseville, they all flow into the top portion of the Natomas Basin, what's called Reach D and Reach E. Next slide, please. These are 2010 numbers, but they should be enough to communicate what's at risk if the Natomas Basin were to flood. In 2010, about 99,000 residents, 55,000 acres. Now that probably hasn't changed since 2010, I don't think. 42 miles of levee. 18 of those miles have already been built by SAFCA and the Department of Water Resources. 24 remain to be built, and the Corps of Engineers with SAFCA and the Department of Water Resources is pursuing the construction of those levees now, which is one of the reasons why we're here. In 2010, there were about 23,000 structures. The Natomas Basin is slated for growth. As you all probably have heard, California has a bit of an issue with housing. The state needs this area in the Sacramento region for some growth, and so it is slated to continue. In addition, Natomas is not just an island in and of itself, it is critical for the Sacramento region. The airport is here, as well as I-5 and I-80 in California 99. All three of those routes are major road transportation routes. 80 and 5 are important for not just California, they are important for the entire western region of the United States. Next slide. So what can we do? We can't control the flood, but we can manage the flood risk. And there's different ways to manage the flood risk, structurally and non-structurally. The non-structural stuff is exactly what we're doing here. I'm alerting y'all to the fact that there is a flood risk and y'all should be aware of it. We can talk a little bit later during the questions if you wish regarding who to contact for flood response planning, your own personal flood response planning. And then also the structural flood risk. That's the levee. That's our project that we're discussing tonight. Next slide. So the goal for the Natomas project, there are three modes of levee failure. When the water is high, there's through seepage, the river flowing laterally, seeping laterally through the levee. There's under seepage. When the water is high, that means there's more pressure on the water lower. That causes it to press underneath the levee. And there's also the geometry of the levee. If you build the sides of the levee too steep and it gets wet, it has a chance to slump. If it slumps, you have a weakness, you may have a levee break. Building the levee at a certain geometry, a certain side slope, corrects that problem when it's done correctly in an engineered fashion. A picture of something that will be occurring in Reach A, not right in front of Swallow's Nest. This is Reach A on the upstream side of Interstate 80, so beyond Interstate 80. If y'all can orient me, I apologize. That way or that way? That way, okay. So the 80 overcrossing. That's called deep mix method. It is, as best I understand, the most expensive and time consuming, but it's necessary when the deep underseepage can go beyond 80 feet deep, beyond 80 feet. Frequently, most of the stuff goes to about 50, 60 feet, but there are some places where the weakness goes all the way down below 80 feet. Those deep mixed method rigs, and there's 2 of them in there, when they're working at about 100 feet deep, they can make the blazingly fast speed of about 24 feet per day. Construction has impacts. Next slide, please. This is a sample cross-section of what is proposed for right in front of Swallow's Nest. I say a sample because some of the dimensions are wrong. And there's a key feature that is not going to occur, not currently, let me pull back on that, not currently forecast for Swallow's Nest. That feature shows an adjacent levee with a 20-foot wide crown. The crown for what we are currently looking at is only 16 feet wide. Also, that shows a 3-to-1 slope. The improvement that we are currently designing is a 2-to-1 slope. We have to source particular dirt to get that 2-to-1 slope. It causes noticeable increase in maintenance concerns, but it's doable, and it minimizes the impact on the adjacent property. Also, the part that we are not doing, there is a slurry wall right through the middle. That is not part currently, and we do not envision it to be part of the levee improvement in front of Swallow's Nest. Upstream, yes, but not in front of Swallow's Nest. This is not a project. This is a project that has been going on for a while. And from 2007 to 2012, SAFCA began constructing, and I was reaching for my pointer, but it's out again. I'm sure the battery's still dead. If you see on this map, you see the green. That's the 18 miles that SAFCA and the Department of Water Resources constructed between 2007 and 2012. The federal process, as you know, once we get moving, but it does take us a little while to get moving. While SAFCA and DWR were building those levee improvements along reaches D, C, and B, the big circled letters, that's the reaches. And a reach, by the way, that's just a stretch of levee. That's just a way of referring, when I say that word, I'm sorry, that's jargony, that's just a way of referring to a stretch, a certain portion of levee. Reaches D, C, and B, performed by SAFCA and DWR. In the meantime, the federal government was developing the report that explained what the project is, defined the project, explained that the project was in fact cost-benefit positive. That's a requirement for civil works projects. And beyond that, explained the environmental impacts of the project. That was completed in 2010, and we reported that up to the Chief of Engineers. The Sacramento District and all districts of the Corps of Engineers do not report to Congress. We report to the Chief of Engineers. The Chief of Engineers then says yay or nay and reports to Congress if they say yay. In 2014, we finished the report in 2010, but it was 2014 before the project became authorized. That was part of the Water Resources and Reform Development Act of 2014. In 2018, Reach I construction began. We'll get to that in just a minute. And in 2019, this year, we had 3 reaches in construction. Reach I on Garden Highway, Reach H on the Natomas East Main Drain Canal, and Reach D, if you can notice here, it's mostly green, but there were 3 little pink windows, little areas that were left unimproved where pumping plants are. Pumping plants provide a particular challenge to levee improvements. So we're able to close 2 of those. That construction is going to complete in December. Next slide, please. So there's the context. What's coming up? We've got the key parts. We focused the map, Reach H, Reach I, Reach A, and Reach B. Next slide. Reach H, it's been in construction for 1 year. It will remain in construction through next year. It's scheduled to close the winter of 2020. It is currently closed to bicycle and pedestrian traffic. It is, we understand, a substantial thoroughfare for bicycles and pedestrians, actual commute thoroughfare for folks getting into downtown Sacramento and out of. What's particularly interesting is that this coming year, there are 2 road closures. It runs along the Natomas East Main Drain Canal, West El Camino at the lower part, Del Paso further up. Those, next year we are going to be working, actually crossing those roads. When we cross those roads will be closed like Garden Highway is now. Hopefully, our conservative estimate on the schedule is 60 days for each closure. We are working very closely with the contractor to keep that at 60 days, but it may change. We are also, there may be substantial overlap. We are also working to not have those 2 closures overlap, but that may occur. Since there's a pretty big distance between there and there's a couple roads that cross the canal in between those 2, it may not be a tremendous impact, but we're still trying to minimize the impacts wherever we can. Next. Reach I, that's the road that's currently closed, that's Garden Highway that's currently closed in between Northgate and Natomas Park Drive. It will remain closed until mid-January, and it will open up for probably about 2 months, and then it will have intermittent closures all through 2020, primarily at the intersection of Natomas Park Drive and Garden Highway, and Gateway Oaks at Garden Highway. The bike trail may be closed. There is a east-west bike trail that may be closed. We are still trying to determine if it needs to be closed. It may be closed. We do have to pull permits, a Caltrans permit, and Caltrans may be requiring that we close the bike path, east-west bike path, for that work. Reach B, this contract was just awarded. Now Reach B, going to take a big switch. Reach B is up from San Juan Road that way, well beyond the I-80 overcrossing. From San Juan Road, it's along Garden Highway, up to almost Power Line Road. The contract was, construction contract was just awarded. Tree removal and mitigation has begun or is about to begin. The construction is slated for 2 years of an adjacent levee and a seepage berm. There will be traffic impacts. It says 1 lane eastbound. I have recently learned, as in about an hour and a half ago, after the slides were printed, that it's uncertain whether it's going to be reduced to 1 lane, but there will be traffic impacts while construction occurs. Next slide. Now, Reach A. The limits of Reach A are from Garden Highway at Gateway Oaks, that's the east boundary, all the way up to beyond the Interstate 80 overcrossing, almost to San Juan Road. This contains the Swallow's Nest area, and we are currently at the 65% design stage. That's why we're rolling this information out now. We haven't done the final design, but we have enough certainty on the design and its actual on-the-ground impacts to where we thought, yep, we're going to begin acquiring real estate, and we need to get out to explain what the project is to the folks who are going to be impacted by it. The public outreach is beginning also. The real estate appraisals are beginning. You may have heard that real estate acquisition, real estate purchasing is going to occur with this project. That is correct. You won't hear from the Corps of Engineers regarding the real estate purchase. You will hear from you have heard, I'll get to that, you have heard from the Sacramento Area Flood Control Agency. They are taking the lead on talking to all of the people who are going to have their real estate impacted by this project. And they have done so. They have already talked to all of the people who have property within the current construction footprint. The real estate appraisals are beginning now, and they are anticipated to be complete May of 2021. You will see the final design is scheduled for fall of 2020. The utility relocations are to begin in the winter of 2020, with the actual levee construction in 2022 and 2023. In the Swallow's Nest area, it will be an adjacent levee, like that graphic that we showed earlier. And we anticipate, this is as of November 20th, 2019, this could change, but we anticipate that the construction will be in front of Swallow's Nest in 2023. Garden Highway will have traffic impacts while the construction is occurring. The Reach A impacts in Swallow's Nest, the permanent impacts, there will be an adjustment to the golf course. We have been working with especially SAFCA has been working with the Levee Projects Committee to get pass on the current understanding of the golf course impacts. Residential, there is one residence that needs to be acquired. SAFCA has already contacted the owner, and we are going to let that process play out to respect the privacy of the homeowner. But that property owner has been contacted, and they are aware of the process. The process has been explained to them, including their legal rights. Vegetation removal in the construction footprint. You have a bunch of trees in the Swallow's Nest area, immediately between the existing levee and the golf course. We are unable to put engineered fill and compact that engineered fill with those trees there. The trees that are in the construction footprint are going to be removed, and when the levee is complete, the levee will be planted with native grasses. So there will be vegetation on the levee, but it will not be trees. Impacts during construction. The golf course the playability of that golf course may be altered. That's something, we will work with the Levee Projects Committee to gain a better understanding of not just the permanent impacts, but the temporary impacts to the golf course. However y'all manage the golf course is what y'all choose to do. The roads, Garden Highway, perhaps Orchard Lane, but mostly Garden Highway will have traffic impacts. There may be possible short-term utility outages because there is development on the water side of the levee. So with that development, utilities, electrical, gas, water, sewer, cross the levee. As the new levee is constructed, those utilities need to be relocated. In place, they get decommissioned, removed. The levee is constructed, then the new levee is built. Then the new utility drop is built. For the safety and the construction aspect, there may be short-term utility outages, and by short-term, we mean a day. We are not talking a PG&E major outage. Also, there will be the typical dust, noise, and vibration. It's a civil works project. It's got a lot of dirt. It's just part of the work. There are various mitigations for that. We will pass those along as the design progresses and as we get a better handle on it. In closing, please stay in touch with us. We understand that while we have been working furiously to try and get the various designs to completion and construction going, we understand that perhaps we have not been as fully engaged with the community as the community would like. We will try and make that better. We hope this is the first of multiple meetings with Swallow's Nest and other homeowners associations or other stakeholders along the Reach A area. But don't let that stop you. There's the contact information. I believe we have fact sheets out, and the fact sheets out there have that contact information. Please feel free to take a photo of that and stay in touch with us. And we have a gentleman here. Where is Tyler?
He might be out there.
Tyler Stalker.
He might be out there.
Okay, he's out in the hall. We'll try and get him in a little bit because I want to make sure that you all see the face with the name. He is with the Sacramento District Public Affairs Office, and he is the person that all the questions, complaints, criticisms go to. And no. And then they come to me. Tyler's very, very good at his job. And they come right to me. Mr. Tyler Stalker right there, folks. We also have social media feeds on Facebook and Twitter, and we have an email list as well where we send out updates. I believe that concludes my presentation. And so now is the time that we will do the best we can to answer questions that you might have.